Spider-Man and She-Hulk had just wrapped up a messy battle in the sewers, taking down a grotesque fish-like monster that had been terrorizing city workers for weeks. The situation had gotten so bad that it was turning into a legal headache, a contract issue, which forced She-Hulk to step in and deal with it, lawyer up, Hulk style. After the fight, She-Hulk thanked Spider-Man for the assist but quickly mentioned she had to dash. She was already late for a work thing. Spider-Man, stomach growling and not wanting the night to end just yet, asked if she needed a date. He caught up with her just as she was calling a cab. Curious, he asked what this work thing was all about. She explained that her law firm was one of the sponsors for a brand new Egyptian exhibit opening that evening. This instantly got Spider-Man's attention. He lit up and insisted on tagging along as her wingman, excitedly sharing that he used to spend countless hours in the Egyptian room with his Uncle Ben when he was a kid. Seeing that she was already running late, he even offered to give her a piggyback ride to get there faster, but She-Hulk brushed it off, clearly not interested, muttering that it was just some cat statue. Spider-Man responded with full enthusiasm, saying he loved cat statues. Just then, a cab pulled up. She-Hulk hopped in without hesitation, leaving Spider-Man behind as he yelled, "You stink, She-Hulk!" She-Hulk arrived at the museum event, heading straight for a drink while guests turned their attention toward her towering green figure. Jane, a colleague from the law firm, approached her and asked why she was dressed like that. She-Hulk casually explained that she hadn't had time to go home and change, but Jane clarified that she wasn't talking about the clothes. It was the fact that She-Hulk had shown up instead of Jennifer Walters. Jane also mentioned that She-Hulk quite literally stank. She suddenly remembered Spider-Man's parting words and realized that he was being completely literal. She actually did stink. She tried to justify herself by saying she'd been engaged in collective bargaining or binding arbitration. Meanwhile, outside the museum, Spider-Man was trying to process whether he was really in the wrong for being curious, enthusiastic, or simply cranky because he was starving. He muttered to himself about how it wasn't really his fault that his favorite hero's joint was just across the street from the Carnarvon Museum. He also pointed out that She-Hulk never said that the event was invitation only or that cloaks were a mandatory dress code. He spotted a group of girls in cloaks entering the museum. That caught his attention, and now he was genuinely tempted to take a look around. Inside the museum, She-Hulk was admiring a statue of a cat adorned with a large golden necklace. An elderly professor beside her explained that it was the goddess Bastet, protector of Lower Egypt associated with the sun and moon. She-Hulk remarked that she liked the necklace, and the professor explained that it was the Eye of Ra, the Wedget, green, just like her. He offered her a replica necklace they kept for guests and leaned in to whisper that both the statue and the jewelry were copies, since the originals were still undergoing restoration. As he spoke, She-Hulk's eyes shifted and caught sight of cloaked figures quietly slipping through a back door. Without wasting time, she abruptly shoved the professor aside with a quick apology and followed them. The cloaked figures moved fast, turning a corner into a storage room. She-Hulk shouted at them to stop and grabbed a sword from a nearby knight's armor while breaking it apart. Just then, Spider-Man dropped from the ceiling. She-Hulk, caught off guard, asked if he had been following her. He said that he was suspicious because of the crazy chicks he saw outside, who seriously gave him the creeps. She-Hulk brushed past him and told him to come along. When the door ahead suddenly slammed shut, Spider-Man figured it was locked and volunteered to find an alternate entrance through a vent or chimney. She-Hulk reminded him that the museum was private property, then immediately kicked the door down in one powerful blow, saying, "Which actually makes it easier to settle damages out of court." Inside, they found two of the cloaked girls crouched over a case, one of them holding the cat statue. She-Hulk warned them that the statue didn't belong to them. One of the girls pulled out a gun and threatened her not to come closer, while the other tightened her grip on the case, ready to flee. Spider-Man swung in from above and drop-kicked the armed girl, mocking her threat and knocking her aside. She-Hulk then moved toward the other girl, now cornered against a wall. She told her to come forward on the count of 3, but instead of waiting, she said, "3!" and slammed the hilt of the sword onto the girl's head, forcing her to drop the case. Later, security guards arrived and began restraining the cloaked intruders. One girl screamed frantically that the goddess would return to rule the upper and lower lands, while the other, now in She-Hulk's grasp, shouted that they would all serve her. She-Hulk just handed her over to the guards. The professor came running up, urgently asking what happened to the statue. She-Hulk calmly replied that it was in the back and offered to retrieve it. Heading back into the storage area, she located the crate with the cat statue and picked it up. To her shock, the statue suddenly spoke to her, saying, "There you are, the green one." Confused and visibly disturbed, She-Hulk returned to the main hall and handed the statue to Spider-Man, telling him she needed to speak with the professor immediately. Spider-Man, noticing her uneasy expression, teased her by saying she looked green and spooked. She-Hulk ignored him and started to walk away, but Spider-Man suddenly stopped her, suggesting she sit down, or maybe not. She turned around and, to her horror, saw a tail sticking out of her back. She cursed loudly, demanding to know what the hell was going on, and threatened Spider-Man that he would never walk straight again if he made a single comment. During all this, several cats had started to appear and roam around them. One of the cats rubbed up against She-Hulk's leg and then leapt onto her shoulder. Spider-Man, completely enchanted by how adorable it was, admired the scene, while She-Hulk, now fully annoyed, tells the cat to get off of her. She suddenly broke into a run, yelling that she had to find those girls and instructed Spider-Man to bring the statue. Spider-Man replied that he was right behind her. Well, not exactly right behind her, because he didn't want a tailgate. As they approached the stairs, they realized the entire museum was now crawling with cats, running wild and leaping everywhere in a frenzy. They pushed through the chaos and ran up the stairs, where they found all the museum guests gathered, many of them panicking as cats climbed onto them, clung to their clothes, and even drank from their wine glasses. She-Hulk shouted for everyone to stay calm, insisting that they were just cats. Spider-Man sarcastically pointed out that it was easy for her to say, since she was clearly one of them now, and maybe she should be the one talking to them. Before anyone could react further, the glass ceiling above suddenly shattered, and more cats began raining down into the hall from above. She-Hulk raised her voice again, telling everyone to get out and keep their heads down as the museum descended further into chaos. Spider-Man acted quickly and shot his webbing across the air, creating a sort of web blanket to catch some of the falling cats and at least control the descent of a few. Outside, the situation wasn't any better. Guests were flooding into the streets, panicked and disoriented, while dozens of cats followed in a frenzied stampede. The sudden influx caused traffic to descend into a massive honking and skidding as cars tried to avoid hitting people and animals alike, many of them swerving and crashing into each other. In the midst of it all, a speeding bus barreled down the street toward the chaos directly in front of the museum. Inside the bus, passengers screamed in terror, shouting that they were going to crash and they were all going to die. The driver yelled back that not on his shift would that happen and tried to slam on the brakes. The bus screeched to a halt but still slammed into a car, sending it flipping into the air. She-Hulk looked up to see the airborne vehicle coming straight at her. Without hesitation, she braced herself and caught the bus by its front end, doing everything she could to balance its massive weight and slowly lower it to the ground. Spider-Man, swinging nearby, saw her struggling and told her to take off the necklace she was wearing, convinced it was connected to the madness. She snapped back that she didn't exactly have a free hand at the moment while holding up an entire bus. Spider-Man swung in, and with one precise move shot his web and yanked the necklace from around her neck. Raising it dramatically, he shouted, "Cats be gone!" In the background, the professor shouted out that the necklace was a fake. She-Hulk, now completely annoyed, repeated that it was fake, making Spider-Man realize his plan wasn't working. Frustrated, he suggested maybe they should destroy the statue instead. She-Hulk told him that the statue was already broken and challenged him to come up with a better plan, questioning what kind of self-proclaimed Egyptophile he even was. Behind them, the cats began hissing and fighting each other. From the madness rose a massive figure, a towering Egyptian catwoman, glowing with divine presence. Spider-Man and She-Hulk stared at the being as she fully emerged. As the giant catwoman stepped closer, Spider-Man's eyes widened in recognition. He identified her as Bastet, the Egyptian goddess of cats, known as the Devouring One, with the head of a cat and the body of a woman. He started to say she had but She-Hulk, irritated, told him to stop talking, stop looking, and insisted whatever was happening was temporary. Bastet locked eyes with She-Hulk and declared that the Green One must serve and protect. She-Hulk responded firmly that she already did exactly that. Bastet told her she had delivered her gifts and demanded service in return. She-Hulk flatly refused. Bastet lunged toward her, proclaiming that She-Hulk would love her and know her as she did her. In response, She-Hulk slammed the goddess to the ground. Bastet rose again, unfazed, and moved in closer. Spider-Man then told She-Hulk he had an idea and dashed away. As Bastet approached again, she declared that the worlds wept and need a warrior. She-Hulk told her that this world was already protected, even if it didn't look like much to an ancient being like her. She gave her word that Bastet was not needed here. Just as Bastet continued to advance, She-Hulk picked up a random cat, held it in front of her, and told Bastet to go back to wherever she came from. At that exact moment, a voice boomed from behind her. "Heed the herald sensation, O mighty defender of the Pharaoh!" Startled and confused, She-Hulk turned around and saw Spider-Man standing triumphantly on top of a car, wearing a ridiculous fake bull head and striking random Egyptian poses. He greeted Bastet with theatrical flair. Bastet looked at him and addressed him as the servant of Neith. Spider-Man embraced the identity, proudly proclaiming himself as the body of a spider and the head of a cow, servant to the goddess of war and hunting, Neith. He pulled She-Hulk close and referred to her as his minion, clearly enjoying the absurdity. Bastet responded solemnly, honoring Neith, mother of Sobek the crocodile. Spider-Man thanked her and said he would absolutely pass on her words. He then continued spinning the tale that Neith demanded Bastet to leave their realm and assured her that the land was already under divine protection. Bastet asked him if this was truly the case. She-Hulk quickly backed him up, though she clumsily said she fought on the side of beef, prompting Spider-Man to correct her, saying the name was Neith. Convinced, Bastet declared her submission to the Great Mother and, glowing with divine light, vanished, saying she would rejoin the other gods. With her departure, calm slowly returned to the scene. Spider-Man removed that silly cowhead and She-Hulk noted that emergency services seemed to have things under control. She told Spider-Man that it looked like they were done. He looked at her and said, "Except for, the thing I'm not supposed to talk about? Say, do you have Dr. Strange's phone number?" She-Hulk replies, saying of course she has his number, but she suddenly realizes what Spider-Man was talking about. She-Hulk panicked and quickly looked behind her, bracing herself to find a tail sprouting again. But, to her immense relief, there was nothing there. The fear melted instantly into rage as she turned back towards Spider-Man, furious and ready to unleash her wrath. But he was already gone. Her anger boiled over and she screamed in pure frustration, calling him an unbelievable pain. Meanwhile, Spider-Man was already back at his favorite hero joint. He ordered 2 of his usual meals. The cook, Sammy, asked if he had a date. Spider-Man said no and that he and She-Hulk were just hanging out. Sammy commented that She-Hulk didn't look particularly happy with him. Spider-Man replied that she was just hungry. Sammy complimented him for being such a nice boy and helping out a friend, adding that it must have been a long day. As Spider-Man unwrapped the sandwich, he says, "Yup, I'm happy to see the tail end of it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel."